The PPSO says that the case has now been turned over to federal authorities, and the cocaine is now with the Department of Homeland Security in New Orleans. They plan on testing the cocaine to see if they can trace it back to its original distributors. Norman says that both of the men admitted to knowing that at least one of them fired at JPSO deputies, and neither one of the men had any remorse for being involved in the shooting. And NOPD 2nd District Commander Paul Noel said he wants to reassure residents in the 2nd District that they have now turned their attention to other armed robberies that have taken place in the Uptown neighborhood, East St. John Elementary and Lake Pontchartrain Elementary, that both utilize this campus. School board officials say they will meet later today to assess the damage and figure out a plan for the students going forward. Since the island has become accessible, on September 23rd, AmeriFlight sent 2 relief efforts and another on September 26th, totaling 6,700 pounds of items that Puerto Ricans desperately need. At this point, it's been more than a year since former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick took a knee in protest of police brutality. To look at how these monuments fit into New Orleans history and to consider if they inspire us or if they represent something else. Fighting blight has been one of Mayor Mitch Landrieu's top priorities since coming into office. Someone who's been a victim of a crime, when they look at all of this information that's out there that's for guns and against guns, I'm going to announce the final 12 finalists in order, beginning with the startup that received the most votes. And Jennifer, she'll tell you a little bit about each company and the people who run it. So let's cut the suspense and let's take it from the top. So here at the School of Medicine, we're really big on creating empathetic scholars, right? We want all of our students to be doctors who can communicate. How important is communication in the surgery side of transitioning? The night of the carjacking. Does that make you feel like maybe your carjacking incident could have been avoided and it probably could have saved Chris Yeager's life? Friday, that was the couple everybody saw that tried to get their license and they couldn't. And part of that was the 25-day waiting period, which is what they were told. Right. So. That was another thing. Susan Hudson, the independent police monitor here in New Orleans, she made that very clear to me. When you get into a confrontation with a police officer, you need to survive the confrontation. That's right. To have a chance at filing a complaint and getting that officer removed, right? Texas-sized help headed to our fellow American citizens more than 2,100 miles away.
You can hear in their desperation when we talk to our employees how they're running low on water, they're running low on food. AmeriFlight
CEO Brian Randall was up before the sun on Tuesday morning, watching over the loading of a cargo plane bound for San Juan, Puerto Rico. It was filled with supplies for their 37 employees living on the island.
They're a valued part of our company, and that we just need to take care of our people.
Prior to Hurricane Maria's Category 5 rain and winds ravaging the island, the company would send about 50 flights there each week. They even offered to charter flights and evacuate all of their employees and their families before the storm made landfall. Randall said only 2 pilots took them up on the offer.
The others from the island, been through storms before, felt they could weather it out.
Weeks later, reports from Puerto Rico's governor's office said that 95% of the island is still without power and less than half of the residents have access to water that's safe to drink.
Our base in Barranquin, which is on the opposite side of the island, really all kind of an isolated base, they say it's no better today than it was the day after the storm.
Since the island has become accessible, on September 23rd, AmeriFlight sent 2 relief efforts and another on September 26th, totaling 6,700 pounds of items that Puerto Ricans desperately need, like food, water, batteries, flashlights, and toiletries.
The call yesterday, they stressed that they really could use batteries. They're running out of AAA and D batteries, which they're using for light at night.
The company has also set up a GoFundMe account online that's raised more than $15,000 since launching on September 25th. When he arrives in San Juan, Randall plans to give that money directly to his employees.
It's a cash-based society right now because ATM machines aren't up and running because there's no electricity. We talked to one of our people that said he can go to Burger King and get dinner, but it's cash only because they can't connect to the internet to swipe a credit card.
Obstacles like those in the island's recovery have drawn sharp criticism of President Donald Trump and the American government's response in providing aid to Puerto Rico. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will be in Puerto Rico on Tuesday for about 5.5 hours touring the island. But regardless of what the government's next move is going to be, Randall is focused on doing what he can for his employees.
We have a unique situation where we own airplanes and they're cargo airplanes, and we can do this.
You can run, but you can't hide. We're better at what we do than you are at what you do, and we're going to catch you and we're going to bring you to justice.
That was New Orleans Police Department Superintendent Michael Harrison's message to criminals around the city as he gathered at the NOPD's 2nd District Station alongside 2nd District Commander Paul Noel and 6th District Commander Ronnie Stevens as they announced the arrest of 3 juvenile suspects in connection with 10 armed robberies in the Uptown area dating back to almost a month ago on August 9th. Noel says the NOPD arrested 2 16-year-old males on August 21st and arrested a third 15-year-old at his home today in the 2900 block of LaSalle Street, finding multiple guns and stolen property.
A total of 2 handguns, 1 revolver, and a 9mm. We also seized a fully loaded magazine, 40 caliber Glock magazine, numerous stolen license plates that we've talked about, numerous stolen brake tags, 2 vehicles, and cell phones and other property that were taken in these robberies.
NOPD detectives connected the juveniles to this man, 43-year-old Larry Vail.
Larry Vail and the 3 juveniles were working together.
Vail was also arrested in connection with 3 of the armed robbery incidents with the teens and 3 separate armed robberies along St. Charles Avenue and Laurel Street. And as the NOPD made that announcement, they had to turn their attention to the latest armed robbery in the 2nd District. They reported that the Circle K in the Uptown neighborhood on Magazine Street was robbed at gunpoint around 6:45 Monday evening. A man walked into the store and asked for a pack of cigarettes and then pulled out a gun and demanded all of the money from the cash register. The store clerk complied and the armed robbery suspect fled the scene.
My husband does go there in the evening just to pick up a couple things if we forget.
The news of that armed robbery had some who work and live in the neighborhood on edge this morning.
It makes me more cautious about leaving the house at certain times of the day.
I don't come in the evening times because of the crime, and there's too many people and there's loiterers.
And NOPD 2nd District Commander Paul Noel said he wants to reassure residents in the 2nd District that they have now turned their attention to other armed robberies that have taken place in the Uptown neighborhood, as well as the Circle K armed robbery.
And guess what? We're coming after those guys as well. Detectives are upstairs in the building behind me as we speak. They just got off of working this case all night, and they're working on those other cases as well, and we're going to solve those cases.
The NOPD asks anyone with information on the Circle K armed robbery to contact Crime Stoppers at 504-822-1111.